Audi Q5, BMW X5, Mercedes-Benz GLE or Volkswagen Touareg. Does everyone own one these days? If you want to stand out from the crowd, look for something more Japanese. Okay, so JDM fans will tell you Lexus RX started off in life as Toyota Harrier, but it doesn't matter for you or your neighbor because you don't know what JDM means. And you can always tell him your Lexus is better than his Volkswagen or Audi because it's one and the same thing, right?
In some markets, RX is available as RX 350 with a 3.5-liter V6. However, in Europe we just get 200T, which is a petrol-sucking 2-liter turbo, and this hybrid 450h, which is the one you want, and I'll explain why in a moment. As far as styling goes, in recent years Lexus went all out with the love or hate theme. Either you love it or you buy a Merc. I like the RX from the front, where the grille reminds me of the Predator. Perhaps not the best comparison. I also like the 3/4 rear look, where the falling roofline morphing into the tailgate looks as if it was suspended in the air, all because of the black C-pillar. But from the side I find the angular wheel arches displeasing. Someone in the design department decided the word arch in wheel arches is passé and decided to add some angles. Not for me, thank you. There is a reason I compared Lexus RX to Audi Q5, not the Q7. As far as car segment go, the RX is in the same league as Q7, but Audi's flagship SUV is much bigger. In terms of dimensions, Q5 is closer in terms of wheelbase, width and boot size.
At 453 liters, RX 450h boot is rather small due to the batteries. 200T variant with a repair kit has about 100 liters more, including storage under the floor. The hybrid variant has just a small storage compartment here. It's enough to store a first aid kit or maybe an emergency triangle. There are a couple of shopping bag hooks here and a 12-volt socket, and you can also fold the back seats with these handles here, but you don't get a flat loading space. There is a little bump. And there is no additional button to close the tailgate and lock the car like in a BMW.
You can adjust the backrest tilt, the whole seat slides, and there are cup holders and some storage in the armrest. There is good legroom and headroom for passengers like me. That's 175 centimeters and slightly taller as well. There are sun blinds and a place for bottles of water in the door bins. Good thing doors cover the sills. Red upholstery is an option reserved for F-Sport trim. Front seats are heated and ventilated. I like the laser cut aluminum accents, but you can have wood as well. This car comes with optional Mark Levinson sound system, which is standard on top spec models. There is also an induction charger for your phone, and then we get to this 12.3-inch tablet-like display.
Unfortunately, sat-nav graphics still look like from an old Avensis. I don't get it why Lexus can't take much better sat-nav from Toyota and put it into its cars. You navigate this thing with a mushroom-like joystick next to the gear lever. You actually have to point a cursor at things you want to click, and it works well on a desktop computer, but not in a moving car.
There's decent storage, cup holders, and interesting dials. However, the instrument cluster is not fully digital, like in Lexus RCF Sport.
So why do you want an SUV? No, not you Jeep in the mud type. I'm talking about normal people who spend a couple of hours every day in traffic and have 2 child seats in the back.
I suspect there are several reasons, in no meaningful order. Status, feeling of security, better visibility, easier access to aforementioned child seats, possibly bigger cargo space, and bigger ground clearance, which sometimes comes in handy when you want to show your kids some moderate wildlife without actually leaving the car.
Unfortunately, all this costs a lot of money. prices of the RX start at around 40 grand for the sluggish turbo. It's so slow, it's even an embarrassment standing in traffic, and by the way, it's still thirsty. This is where the RX 450h comes into play. It starts at 49 grand, although this test example costs more like 80 to 90 grand. It's similarly priced to Mercedes-Benz GLE 350D and cheaper than Merck's hybrid, which is called GLE 500E. But GLE 500E is a plug-in hybrid, so it's also more sophisticated, powerful and faster.
Okay, so you're buying prestige, Japanese quality and modern equipment, except for sat-nav, and this is where real savings begin, because GLE 350D will burn 12 liters of diesel in the city, whereas RX 450h should do about 7 to 8 liters of petrol per 100 kilometers. In combined cycle, they'll both do around 10 liters, and on motorway, Merc will be more economical. When deciding on a drivetrain, you have to do your own calculation and decide where your car spends most of the time. In traffic, hybrids rock.
At motorway speeds, the 3.5-liter petrol V6 will use over 10 liters per 100 kilometers, but at least it's not strained, there is no turbo, so not much can go wrong with it. RX 450h is quiet around the city, although it's not so quiet on the motorway, especially compared to the GLE Merc, which is definitely more refined. CVT in Lexus doesn't encourage sporty driving, but put it in sport mode and you will even enjoy some twisty roads, which is more than can be said about your kids puking in the back.
Visibility is average, but you're buying an SUV to be seen, not to look out for others. RX can be specified with adaptive cruise control, lane assist, collision warning, and a few other beepers which will help you in difficult situations. I wouldn't mind a 360-degree camera, which is an option on the F Sport, but standard in prestige trim.
Lexus RX 450h is a large SUV, at least for European standards. It's comfortable, lacking emotion. I tested it along with Mercedes GLE 350D, and besides differences in fuel economy, both cars felt pretty much the same, and I switched them back to back and I couldn't tell which one I'm driving. Okay, as I said, the Merc was slightly more refined at higher speeds. Okay, perhaps in sport mode also the Merc was a bit more aggressive due to traditional automatic gearbox rather than CVT, but let's face it, an SUV isn't really sporty despite sport in the name. I mean, it's sporty compared to your off-road vehicle. These, they aren't really off-road. So, should you choose a Lexus over a German competitor? Lexus will stand out from the crowd, and in city traffic it will be more efficient. It's an expensive SUV, but add hybrid into the mix and it becomes much better value.
And what do you expect from an SUV? Let me know in the comments below. Subscribe, rate and share. If you like what I do, please contribute to my Patreon or PayPal, links in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.